for 32 minutes. I don't know, like, did it go live or not? But uh, hello, guys. We are back. I hope you can see our lives. I hope that there's somebody there because you've been waiting for me for more than 30 minutes. Uh, before
Well,
everybody comes, yeah,
it's something that everybody will remember.
yeah. It's gonna be, it's gonna be. I hope it's gonna be a good memory. Okay. Here is Mr. John. And as you know, we say Mr. in Egypt for the first name, and I know in English we say the last name. I should say Mr. Siwicki. Okay. So you know what? I told him the one who's gonna read his name correctly, I'm gonna give him a prize, and nobody did. And someone told me, "Is he John Wick?" I don't know. He's not John Wick.
John Wick, yeah.
It's John Wick. So here you go. I want you can say hello to these guys. Guys, say hello to John here if you can if you can hear us. Unfortunately, now we have 24 viewers. The others have died, I think, or something because they have been waiting for us for 30 minutes. But never mind. This live is gonna be recorded. You can talk now. You can tell them hi. Some people's gonna say hi. So you go, Mr. John, if you want to talk to them.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Maybe you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sorry for the problem with the Facebook live thing. Anyway, so my name's John Siwicki, and I'm from the U.S. I live in the U.S. and I moved back here 2 years ago to promote my books mainly. And I lived in Japan for over 20 years. I was teaching English in Japan and writing. I'm a writer, and so that's what I'm basically doing. And now I teach online here in the United States. I live in the north part of the U.S. near Canada. I go hiking in the snow and all year round.
Very good. Have you ever been like exposed to Arab learners or something?
Yeah, I have a lot of students from Saudi Arabia, from different countries. Yeah, quite a few actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what's today's topic? What are we gonna talk about today?
So we were going to talk about memory. I think that's I think
Memory.
memory. Yeah, talk about memory and how to memorize or how to remember and recall. So it was called if you try to memorize words, it doesn't seem to work very well for most people because you just memorize words and you can't recall the words. Some people like to or try to memorize words. It just doesn't work. So what's the best way to be able to recall words that you've tried to learn or memorize? And
Okay.
so there are two kinds of memory. There's short-term memory and there's long-term memory. And the short-term
Great.
memory
And what is the difference between them?
Well, the short-term memory, it's just for remembering something that we just need temporarily. We don't need to know something or remember it tomorrow or an hour later. So
That's the short-term memory.
Yeah, disappears pretty quick. And then we have long-term memory. Long-term memory is something that we need to remember, like your telephone number, your address, names of people, all kinds of things like that. So the long-term memory is so we want to put if we can get some new words, new vocabulary, we try to put that into the long-term memory. But it's difficult to jump from short-term to long-term. So many people think, well, how do I do that? And that's a big, I think, a question a lot of people have. And there's really no easy answer for it. Everybody's memory is a little bit different, and everyone's memory works a little differently. The only thing I like to tell people a little story about memory that I have is if you just think about, this is one way to illustrate how it works. For example, if you take the English alphabet, there are 26 letters in the English alphabet, right? And most people know the alphabet, and most people study the alphabet, English alphabet. So if you ask somebody the letters, for example, if you ask someone the first letter, what's the first letter of the English alphabet? Most people would know it's A, right? If you ask somebody what's the last letter, they know it's Z. If you ask somebody what's the second letter, they know it's B. So B is connected to A. if you go down the list and you keep asking people the letters in order, everybody knows all of them. But if you go from the first letter, if you ask someone what's the 15th letter of the alphabet, there's a gap
No,
there.
but I don't think that someone remembers, like, or something.
We don't know that, right? And so why don't we know that? Because we memorize the alphabet. We know the alphabet, A, B, C. We sing it like a song, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. We sing it, right?
Yeah.
We know all the letters. So if I ask you what's the 15th letter, why don't you know it? So you do know it, but you don't.
Okay.
At the same time.
Okay, but you don't recall it. So I'm sorry, like, guys, let me ask you a question. Are we talking in a regular pace? Is it too fast for you? Is it appropriate for you? Because I know, like, most of you, or not all of you, are professional or advanced. They have advanced levels. So just tell us about the pace. If it's okay, we're gonna go on. If it's not, we're gonna ask Mr. Joan politely, kindly, that he slow his pace down or something. So just let us know. If you have no problem, Joan, please. Because most of the people are watching us, they are just learners. Maybe they're intermediate
Right.
levels or below intermediate levels. So that's interesting. You are telling us that although we know the alphabet like A, B, C, D or something, and we know the 15th letter, but we cannot recall that letter when you ask me what's the 15th letter or something. Is that correct?
Correct.
Very good. And why is that? But why don't we remember it?
Well, so that's strange too, because remember when I said short-term memory and long-term memory? So the alphabet is actually in the long-term memory.
Yeah.
Right? Because we memorized the whole alphabet, so we know the alphabet. Most people know the alphabet, right? Yeah. So why don't we know what the 15th letter is? Because and so it's numerical, right? So it's number 15. So we're thinking of number 15. We're not thinking of the alphabet.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is, so we have to connect 15 to the letter, right? So there's the linking. That's how linking it to the number. So if you go through the list and you find out number 15, what's number 15? We can figure that out. You can just count down through the alphabet, and then you'll know which one it is. And then maybe you'll remember it, maybe you won't. But if you keep memorizing all the numbers and the letters, you would know all the answers. If anybody asks you what's the 10th letter, what's the 11th letter, everybody would know if you memorize all that. But no, most people don't. So I think the same thing is connected with memorizing. So if I have a list of words, how do I remember these words? Well, one way you can do it that I find is making a word list.
Word list.
You have to start.
Great.
You have to start somewhere. So you start somewhere. So where do you start? So you make a word list, or stacking.
Yeah, stacking.
Does everybody know what stacking is?
Would you please elaborate the meaning of the word stacking? Oh, I was just asking you. Guys, does anybody know the meaning of the word stacking? If you know it, write it down. And then we're going to get back to it. So you tell us that we should make stacking, right? And how do we make it?
Stacking on top of each other, right? Actually, it would be going down because we're making a list down. But so how do we do it? So you have to start somewhere. So so one way to start with your list is just have a category.
Great.
So and that's going to be we start with a category, and then from the category we make a list. And so, for example, a simple way to do this, just to illustrate it, if you take the word food. So food is the category. And so what you can do with stacking is you just make a list of food. You could do a simple list, could just be the names of any kind of food that you like or that you eat. And then when you can make certain ideas to start with a word, right? So you make the list but some categories, or a lot of categories, will have subcategories, because if you have food, then you could divide them up. So you could have vegetables, you could have meat, you could have dairy. I mean, you can make a whole category of subcategories, and then have lists of the subcategories. It seems difficult, but it's basically, I think, how everything in our mind works. So everything is connected to something else. And so just to keep it simple with food, so you just make a list of food. And then so we start with a word. We have one word, and then we make a sentence. So we have to have some kind of formula. So we start with a word. So we make a list and we have our words, right? And then from those words, we make sentences. Okay?
Yeah.
And then after that, we make a story. Like a summary or a story.
First, we stack category, then
Category. Yep.
category first, and then
Categories
subcategory.
first. Well, you can have subcategories, or you don't need subcategories. If you want, once you get into it and once you start filling up the category, you'll want a subcategory. You'll do it by yourself. You'll start separating everything into your mind will do it automatically.
And then sentences.
Then you make a sentence, and then so you have the words and the categories stack. You make a list or stack, and then you take the word, and then you make a sentence with the word, and then you tell a story with the word. And then after that, you have a conversation.
Okay, that's
simply.
interesting.
So how do you make a sentence? So you make a sentence. One of the easiest way is to just talk about what you like and what you don't like. So food is a good one. So we can start with food. So if we say, for example, just take like fish.
Yeah.
So fish is a kind of food, right? So you have fishes in the list, right? And then you could either say I like fish or I don't like fish. Right? That simple, just to make a simple sentence. Mm-hmm. And then you can make the sentence, you can make any kind of sentence, it depends on your level, right? Like you could make a long sentence, they could say, I had fish for dinner last night.
Oh, great.
Like that. You just keep making sentences with the word fish, right? So you have that in the list. And then, so the next step would be to tell a story. So tell a story about, maybe you went fishing with somebody sometime at one time and you caught some fish. You try to make a story as best you can. And then after that, it would be a conversation, because when you're telling the story, a person you're telling the story to will have a story, and they'll tell you something about fish or about fishing. So everything is connected to something else. But the idea is that with food is an easy way to illustrate it, but you could do this with anything, with any kind of word. So it's a starting point.
So let me recall, or let me just recap what you said. We start with a word list, like categories, different categories, like food, for example, or something. Some categories have subcategories, like food, and food has vegetables and so. And some don't have, it differs. Later on, after we make a list of the category, we make simple sentences. For example, I like fish or I don't like fish. Later on, we make a simple story, like we went fishing yesterday, or I ate fish with my friend yesterday.
But it would be a story. As best you can tell the story.
It's better to make a story. Okay, great job.
Yeah, more than just one sentence. I mean, after you make the sentences, you're going to be making the stories, right? So.
Yes. Okay, step by step. Thank you. So our second question, should I memorize 5 or 10 words a day? Or should I even memorize words by itself?
No, I don't think you should memorize words I think you should make a list with the category. Like I think the stacking system, I think, works the best. Make a list. If you make the list, it's connected to something. You can't just take random words and make a list of words you want to memorize. They have to be connected. The whole point of this is connecting it to something else. Like the linking system. It's linked. Everything is linked to something else.
Not to forget. So you're telling us to remember words that I memorized. I should put them in lists.
In lists.
Okay, in lists.
And what's going to happen? What's going to happen is you're going to find out that some lists overlap.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually they will.
For example,
if you start making all these lists, you're going to have. Well, let's say your next category is restaurant. The category can be anything. So if you have a category of restaurant, you're going to start thinking of other vocabulary: table, chair, chef, menu. You have lots of words connected to a restaurant. And so the restaurant and the food list will overlap. And then your story will get bigger. Story will get bigger, more sentences, bigger story, conversation.
Interesting. So our next question is watching movies a good way to learn new words?
Yeah, I think anything is good for learning new words, but the problem with watching TV is it's entertainment and it's passive.
Yeah,
it's not active. You're just sitting there, and you might remember. It goes to short-term memory.
Yes, it's not a long-term memory.
Unless there's something that you remember, something about that movie that connects to something that you I don't know, you have some connection to it. You might remember the words, but If it were that easy, just watching a movie, everyone would be fluent in every language. It's not that easy.
If it were easy, everybody would do it.
Right. If it were so easy, if I just watch a movie in Japanese and I can speak Japanese. It doesn't work that way.
How do these people talk? I'll tell you something. Some people learn from movies, but it takes them so long time. Like too long time to get a couple of words first and repeated words over a very, very long period. You know what I mean? And finally, or eventually, it gives them such a distorted language, the language which is not clear, because they have no idea what they're learning. This is my point of view. What do you think?
Well, because movies are trying to reenact life. It's like real life. So you don't know what people are talking about. The movie could be about anything. So, but I think it's good for your listening comprehension. Sure, it's good for that. Any kind of listening is good for listening comprehension. But you could just listen to anything. You could just listen to it and not watch the movie and try to figure out what's happening. That would be probably better.
Okay, another thing. What do you think of learning from songs? Some people say, I want to learn through songs. But is that okay?
I think songs are good because songs have rhyming sometimes. Rhyming is good for links, memory links, rhyming.
Yeah, but would it be helpful for conversations or something? Because, in songs, sometimes they pronounce words differently. Sometimes it doesn't go with a specific grammar, because it's a song, so they don't follow always the right track. I don't know. This is what I think. What do you think?
Well, you can't go by the rules are meant to be, the rules are broken. They're not always perfect. So in songs, they break the rules. So like names of songs and sometimes the title and sometimes the lyrics, it's not exactly like spoken English. It's a song, so it's going to be different. Songs, but there's nothing wrong with songs. I think if it tells a story, if you can understand what they're saying, it's hard sometimes to understand the singers. It depends on the singer.
It depends on the singer.
Music is good. I think music is nothing wrong. Music is good because it's connected to a melody. You have a melody, and the melody, you remember the melody. Like, I'll tell you what, it's interesting with songs. When you listen to songs, somebody who listens to a lot of songs, most people will remember the hook. Does everybody know what a hook is?
Guys, does anybody know what the hook is? In songs? I'll tell you something about Facebook Lives. There's a serious problem that Facebook should fix. That when we're speaking now, they are not listening to us on time. There's a problem in synchronization. It takes them few seconds.
So this StreamYard, is this connected to Facebook or how does this?
Yeah, now we're live on Facebook.
No, but I know. But I mean, before, how were we connected before? On Facebook Live only, or do you need StreamYard?
No, you can go on Facebook Live, but sometimes the good thing about StreamYard here that we can be more than one.
Oh, okay.
We can be 10 people, and we go live on Facebook. It's okay. We have no problem with that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, I was kind of wondering why. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Tell me. No, it's okay. Go. Wondering about what? Like how we are on Facebook now or something?
No. Before that, we were talking about the about music, the hook.
The hook. Yeah, people were talking about hook. For me, I think is the most repeated thing in the song.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so everybody remembers that when they hear a song, they'll remember that one part, and that's all they remember. They don't remember the whole song. Most people, some people do, but not everybody. And then you'll sing that one part, and the rest you'll just kind of hum.
I know. Guys, humming is like when you say mim, mim, like for example, what is the most common thing? Like nobody. There's a team called One Direction, I guess. They're a little.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really into that band or a group, so I didn't listen. I don't know any new music.
Surprisingly, I'm not into music too. I'm not into music at all.
I like music, but I'm not into I listen to some old songs, but music is a good way. I think the rhyming is good and the hook is good. Maybe it's good because music is connected to culture. So there's.
I'll tell you one of my favorite old songs is called "It's a Wonderful World." There is a guy. He's gonna. I think
that's Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, that's that guy. That guy.
He's got a gravelly voice.
Yeah,
gravelly voice. Yeah, that was.
The trees are green, skies blue.
Yeah,
I think it's a good song to learn.
Louis Armstrong, yeah. But those guys, they would sing clear. You can understand what they're saying.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. It's a good song to learn from if
right,
somebody is okay.
and you can understand what they're saying. Some the newer songs you can't. Sometimes you can't understand what they say is different from what they actually are saying. It sounds different
Eminem.
from.
What's Eminem? Eminem, that guy is crazy. I don't know. He
Well, a lot of
talks
rappers they
like
sing really,
hell.
though they're talking really fast. But I don't know. I never really got into rap so much. But I think music is like movies. You listen to it. It's you can. The thing about listening is you can listen anywhere and you can do something else at the same time.
Yeah,
It's called
it's a passive
white.
learning.
Do you know? Does anybody know? Do they know the expression white noise?
White noise. Oh,
White
interesting.
noise.
Yeah.
You know, white
What does
noise.
that mean?
White noise is like everything around you, the noise you hear around you.
It's
It's
called
called
white.
white noise. Yeah.
And what is it? Do we have a black noise or something?
No, just
It's
white
just
noise.
white. This is racist.
White no
Okay.
racist noise.
This is
Yeah,
racist
racist
noise.
noise. Well, white
Okay.
noise is like, let's say if you walk into a building in a lobby and a lot of people are talking around you, right? And
What
you
if I
hear
say
like
just noise?
and you hear some noise, you hear some maybe a car horn or stuff around you. That's white noise.
Like, does it differ? Like, if I say noise, does it make a difference?
Well, the only reason they call it white noise because white is like a white piece of
Like
paper.
the
It's
day?
clear. There's nothing written. It's blank.
I know.
It's there,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Okay. So before I go, I have another question for you. But before we go to the question, so again, because I like recapping if somebody's just in now. So we're saying to remember a word or to remember something, you want to like some words you memorized earlier. So first, you make categories or list of categories. The word category means group or something. For example, a list of food, a list of restaurant stuff, verbs maybe, or colors, clothes, body parts, whatever. And after you make that list, you try to make simple sentences or simple sentences like I like bananas, I don't like apples or something. Later on, you put them in a simple story. Yesterday in the market, I bought bananas. For example, step by step after making lists and categories like you can these categories will overlap together or will connect will be linked together, then you can make a conversation easily. One more thing I'd like to add in here after thanking Mr. John, that to remember something you need to make something called spaced repetition, or our memories learn by something called spaced repetition. The spaced repetition is when you recap and revise words that you learn over a period of time. For example, like you revised them today, you revise them like a couple of days later on, and step by step you try to repeat them like every now and then. So am I correct? You can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. John.
Repetition, yeah, repetition is that from repetition will convert it to long-term memory.
Okay, interesting. So one more thing I'd like to ask you about, because a lot of people here, especially like the what do we call them? We call them like the non-native speakers. Okay, they are having a very serious problem that they think if they don't talk in a pure American accent, if they don't say water and instead of water or water, okay, they're paying too much attention to accents. Do you suffer if someone told you, or do you have any personal problem you feel offended if someone told you water?
Actually, I think people shouldn't even be concerned with accents. Don't even think about it at all. Accent doesn't really help you speak. It's just a sound. So the only reason you'd want to learn an accent is if you want to be an actor, and you have to act in
Yeah,
some role with a different accent. Otherwise, there's no point to it. It doesn't really make any sense. Just two things: the vocabulary and pronunciation. If you have those two, you'll do okay. And then if you speak clearly, everybody can understand what you're saying. If you only know a few words and you speak clearly, that's really good. If you know a lot of vocabulary and nobody can understand you, that's not good. So those two work together. The most basic of everything is vocabulary, pronunciation together, hand in hand. After that comes everything else: grammar, idioms, expressions, pronunciation, vocabulary first.
that's interesting. So another question. In America, I think you have a lot of like ethnics, a lot of different people around the world, right? Is that right? Different, like, what do we say? Different nationalities,
Yeah,
right?
people from everywhere, right?
Do you have one accent? Like, do all people speak American accent?
No, in the United States, there are different accents too. My accent basically is called the Midwestern accent. I'm from the north of the U.S. If you go down to the southern part of the U.S., it'll be a little bit different. If you go down to Georgia, like I've been down to Georgia, the accent will change like this: "Hi, y'all doing? What y'all doing tomorrow? Are you coming along?" Like that. It's a drawl. They drawl. It changes. And if you go to New
Yeah.
York or Boston, it'll be like,
Ah,
I'm buying a new car.
and
It's
you
like,
that goes to a little British, not
yeah,
pronouncing
New
the
England,
R.
New England, New
Yeah,
England
New
is kind of
England.
like a British, yeah,
Yeah, is
yeah.
that
It's
right?
called, yeah, it is, yeah,
So what
yeah,
we're saying now that when you're learning, just learn vocabulary and pronunciation hand in hand, and don't pay attention to accents because unless you want to be an actor, that's
Unle-
another story.
unless you want to be an actor, yeah. Otherwise, there's no point. There really, because what happens if your pronunciation is really good and you can use someone's ideas. Like if you like the way somebody says something or the way they sound or the way they talk, you could try it and then incorporate it in your own accent. But you'll develop your own style.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing. You told us that you've been in Japan like for 20 years or something, right?
Right.
Interesting. And you have trained a lot of people in major companies there. If
Right.
two candidates, yeah.
Yeah, I taught classes at part time at a university, and I taught business people.
Interesting. So if two candidates are applying for a job, would the accent be like such a plus for one of them? Or would it be even a factor that you judge them or something?
Uh, well, that's hard to say. It depends who the interviewer is. I should say no because I don't think so. Because as long as they can understand what you're saying, and you know the job, and you have the knowledge and experience, there shouldn't be any issue as long as you can explain everything. So that's why it goes back to pronunciation and vocabulary. If you don't do those two, then nothing else will fit. You have to be able to say things clearly, and you have to know a lot of vocabulary. Vocabulary is really the key for everything.
Okay, that's it. So, you know what? I was trying to ask you this question in different ways because a lot of people here in my country, especially Egypt, they pay too much attention to accents. And, I'm sick and tired of telling them, guys, just learn, deliver your message. Even native speakers, they have no problem with that. Like,
Right.
When a native speaker speaks Arabic, it's okay. They make it like nonsense, but we get you. Once we get you,
Well, that goes right back to pronunciation and vocabulary. It's the same thing in any language. It doesn't matter what it is. If you can't pronounce anything, correctly, then people don't know what you're talking about. So you have to be able to say it clearly.
Okay. So now,
and then the patterns.
Mhm.
The memory thing also goes back to patterns, like the I like, I don't like. That is the pattern. There's a lot of patterns that are used in other situations. So you can use these patterns again and again and again. And so one way to get a lot of patterns for your language is using practice with a timeline.
Timeline, like to make
timeline.
it. Yeah. What do you mean? Can you give us an example?
So a timeline is timeline is really good. And actually a timeline is actually beneficial for grammar because you're going to be talking about things in the past, in the present, as they are happening or have happened or will happen or are going to happen in the future. A timeline is like evolution of something, like the beginning of something, and then as it continues. So it could be about your routine, a timeline. What in the morning, what time do you wake up? And then simply it could be that way. And then you could talk about timeline over a period of 20 years or 30 years. It's what's happening, what happened in the past, what is happening. Those patterns are used for a lot of things.
Interesting.
If you can do the patterns, if you can just talk about your routine, those patterns for the routine are also used for many other things. You just change the information. The content is changed.
That's great. So can we take some other like a couple of questions? Is it okay?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question here from Omar Mahmoud. He says, some people thinking of photographic memory. Do you think photographic memory is a myth, or what do you think?
No, I think some people have a photographic memory. There are people
Yeah.
who can remember, but I think photographic memory is like short-term memory too, though. But I think
Okay.
there are people that can look at something. I think so. Yeah. I don't personally know anybody. There's a
About
photographic.
photographic memory.
No, I don't know anybody with a photographic memory. But I think it's. I think if you take an example, like if you, for example, if you just if you take a picture of something and you hold it up in front of you and you close your eyes and you open your eyes and you see something, you remember what you see. It's just that some people
But it's a
remember
short-term
more.
memory, I guess.
Yeah. Some people remember more than other people. A good example, another example is if you read a book, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has, 300 pages and you read a book,
Yeah.
you'll remember,
How would you make it? Yeah.
you'll remember the story, but you're not going to remember everything in that book. It's impossible.
Yeah, you don't
can't
have to.
remember. You don't have to. You just have to know the story. And then what happens is if you tell a story about a book or about something, you'll start remembering the details.
Interesting. So the last question we have today, please, can you ask Mr. John the best way to read any book and get a lot of information? Or thank you. How can we get information from reading?
Okay, so that goes back to the same thing with the list. So if you read something,
Yes.
you read something, and if you understand what you're reading, the idea of memory is to tell somebody or tell somebody what you. If it's a book about how to do something, you could tell somebody how to do something. You learned how to do something. If it's a story, just tell somebody that story. You'll remember the story. The story, you remember the story.
Okay.
You're not going to. The story will be told a different. You can tell it a different way. It'll change every time you tell it, but the story is the same. It's just how you say it changes.
Interesting. So that's it for today. And of course, we're going to be again together in another live on time. We've got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't see how that was working. It wouldn't catch, or there was no link there. I don't know what was going on with that. So anyway.
Never mind. We are kind. Egyptian people are kind, for your information. We are very kind. I'm just kidding. Okay. We, of course. Okay. So I think you have an online YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I just started it a little while ago. It has I'm doing some videos about language, and there's one video about word lists on that channel. If somebody wanted to take a look at it, they could take a look at it. I think I'm going to make another video that's good with more information about word. I think the list idea is really a great idea. I think stacking. I think for a basic learner or somebody who's just learning, and because there's no other way to do it. I think it takes work to make a list, but so the categories, you could think about them in your head. You can actually, if you write them on a piece of paper, it actually helps a lot too, because you use your senses, right? So what you see, what you hear, if you read it, you're going to hear it because you're saying it, you're hearing it, you're writing it, and repetition. The more you do, the more you will remember.
That's it. So you're going to send me a link. I'm going to post it here in the comments below in our lives. And if anybody is interested with word lists, basic word lists, right after our live, inshallah, you're going to find it down there. Thank you, Mr. John. We're going to see you again in another topic. Do you want to say anything before you leave?
Thanks for listening. And I'm, again, sorry for the problem at the beginning. And hopefully I'll be able to figure this out.
Yeah,
Anyway.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. John. See you later. Until next time, be happy.
Bye-bye.